I would like to invite Alexandra. Alex, if you can start, okay, start your screen, unmute your phone. I will make you presenter.
All right. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. So thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hello and welcome. Alexandra is calling from across the ocean.
Yeah.
So she is, I think, in the Boston area located.
That's right.
And thank you very much for being present here in our user group. And I hope you'll find it useful, and everyone will find also your presentation useful. So you'll have the floor now. Thank you. I will set on mute. And good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. It's morning where I am. Thank you for taking the time to join me today on my presentation. This is the first presentation in the Romanian OUG, so pretty exciting. This presentation is an intro to profitability and cost management. And before I dive into the topic, I would like to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Alex. I'm the product manager with Alithia for profitability and cost management. I've been working in enterprise performance management for almost 14 years now as an architect, designer, integration specialist, optimization specialist, and I'm certified in profitability and cost management, but also in planning, S-Base, and SQL scripting. I've been an Oracle ACE associate since June of 2019. And on the more personal side, I love learning foreign languages, I love winter sports, and I love traveling when the pandemic allows us to travel. And let's dive into the topic, profit or perish. I don't know how many of you have heard this expression. It's coined by Fred DeLuca, who is the founder of a famous chain of fast food, which is called Subway. And I believe that this is an expression that is very much applicable to today's world, to the business environment that we're witnessing nowadays. Generally, we have pressure from all sides to reduce our costs. But now more than that, we need to have that pressure of where do we actually invest the money that we have? What do we do with the resources that we have? So besides reducing spending, we need to make sure that whatever resources we have, we spend them the right way. The inevitable question comes though, could I be spending my money in a better way? And if that is the case, is there any software that can help me do that? And because of the recent reports on the state of the economy within European Union and within the US as well, I think this is the best time to introduce enterprise performance management. So let's have a look at what the enterprise performance management landscape looks like. If you're not familiar with it, this is the suite of products that are available today. And I would like to start from the top, just covering what it is that you look for in an enterprise performance management system. You obviously must be looking at some software that is global, mobile, social. You want collaboration. You want people to be self-served. So you really don't want to depend on IT to be able to access your data. You want to have meaningful visualizations, data that speaks for itself. And you want to make sure that all your systems are integrated. So with that said, with those attributes in mind, let me introduce the actual software that is available nowadays. So within the EPM landscape, we have account reconciliation, we have financial consolidation and close, planning, long-range planning, that's strategic planning. So everything that I'm talking about here, these are all systems and software that are not at transactional level. They are more at strategic level. So it's a little bit different from your usual, let's say, ERPs or from your, from your data marts. This is more analysis from a strategic point of view. And these types of services offerings, they're more catered towards your end users, finance, business, cost accounting, and business analysis. All right, so The best part here is that you don't have to choose one. You can have a multitude of these services, and you can combine them in such a way that they will cater for your business needs, whether you have a simple problem to solve or a complex environment. They're all sitting on a common EPM platform. And as you can see here, these services, they're not dedicated just to finance. They're also dedicated to HR, IT, sales, operations, marketing, etc. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So in the HR world, we sometimes think, how many positions do I have to fill in next year? So it's basically workforce planning. You're thinking of the budget that you have for the next couple of years, positions, roles that you need to fill in, or how would my budget be impacted by me transferring a person from one department to the next. When it comes to IT, we have IT financial management. How many servers do I have? If you're all on the cloud, you still need to pay for licensing. So how many licenses do I have? What's the cost of those licensing? And things like that. So these systems, although they're mostly finance focused, they're not dedicated just to your finance department. They're actually spreading across different departments, and they can be used by different consumers within your business. All right, so having covered the EPM landscape and the technical architecture of Oracle EPM Cloud, let me talk to you a little bit about the licensing. And if you're not familiar with it, that's fine. If you're familiar with it, I'm just going to cover it at a high level. I believe that this is important because there's a distinction between the type of licensing for this kind of product that I think is crucial when making a decision whether to go for it or not. This licensing model has been released, I think it was mid-2019, end of 2019. So there's still some things that are being, I believe they're being, finalized in the process. There are a lot of people that are between licensing, the pre-2019 and today. But let me just describe this really briefly and point out something that is not really clear to everyone. So you have your EPM Cloud standard licensing and your enterprise licensing. In the standard licensing, you need 10 users minimum. So that's a cost that's a little bit smaller, which means this is generally for smaller companies. But the key thing here is that you have a choice of 4 business processes, but you can only choose one of them within the cost. So that's where there's not that much clarity out there in the marketplace. You can choose between 4 services, but only one is included with your licensing. Everything else that you would like within that list of business processes would have to be paid for additionally. On the enterprise side, which is on your right-hand side, you have a plethora of business processes. You actually have all of them, everything that's included in EPM. And anything that you add as an application will then be included within your licensing model. So even though if you look at it from a monetary perspective, it would be cheaper to go with just 10 licenses, but in long term, if you think about it, you're getting a lot more value for your money if you go with the EPM Cloud Enterprise. And profitability and cost management is the service that I would like to talk to you about today because it focuses on money, spending your money where it matters. Let me try and introduce to you a little bit where this profitability and cost management sits. If you are familiar at all with planning, budgeting, forecasting, thinking about what you're going to spend, what your department is going to spend, how much budget you have for next year, or even financial close, trying to close the books at the end of the month. Where does profitability and cost management actually sit? And if you cannot really figure it out, that's because it doesn't exist on its own. It's always in between or additional to some other service. And in this case, it's additional to your planning services or your financial close services or processes. It basically is like a bridge, and it can address needs, business needs, and analytical needs on either side of the coin, whether it's for your budget forecasting or for your actual data set. And that's why you see here a little bit of an overlap. You have your strategic profitability in both areas. You have management allocations in both areas. So you can solve for business needs that are tied to different business processes with this one tool. All right, so let's have a look at something that's a little bit more tangible. I get it. You know, we have profitability and cost management can be part of this different business processes, but what does it actually do? So these are just a couple of questions that profitability and cost management can answer. And we're going to start from the left-hand side. Types of solutions. We're looking at strategic profitability, shared service charges, regulatory cost reporting, or tax transfer pricing. I'm going to briefly describe each of these to you. Strategic profitability, that's about connecting your supply and demand, figuring out if you link your strategy to your execution and how do you get there. Where should you focus your resources is one of the questions that we answer whenever we implement strategic profitability with this software. Do you know when the right time is to retire a product, a service, a channel, a fund? These are questions that are critical to businesses around the world. So being able to answer those questions accurately is crucial, especially in these times. So that's strategic profitability. When it comes to shared services, we all use IT. We all use HR, facilities. We all use these services, right? Finance within a company. So the question is, why am I being charged a specific amount of money from finance at the end of the month? Do I have heavy general ledger processes, and can I defend the overall cost of my department, or is it always difficult to explain why my department is not performing? So all these questions are answered by the software, and shared services recharges are basically that distribution of the cost throughout your entire company. This is actually a model that is quite common, implemented through this service, because everyone wants to know, am I being profitable at the end of the month? Is especially if your bonuses are tied to how profitable your department is, you really want to have these questions answered, and you want to understand, are we being efficient internally or not so much? Are we providing IT services at a good price internally, or should we be outsourcing? And I know that's a scary thought, but you really do need to have a look at that. Regulatory cost reporting. This is related mostly to, I'll give you a couple of examples. I had some projects in defense industry. This is where you have to prove the numbers to the government. This is where you get audited all the time. You have to make sure that anything you put out there as a report is 100% accurate. Otherwise, you lose contracts next year. So this is where we answer questions such as overhead rate estimate. Was that correct? Can I prove it? Can I trace my costs from where it generated all the way to the end of the line when it comes to a product or a service? Am I sure I understand all of the elements of my cost, whether it was direct or indirect? So these are the types of questions that we answered whenever we implement regulatory cost reporting solutions. Last but not least, this is for bigger companies, tax transfer pricing. When I offer service internally, how do I charge for them within my own company? Is it difficult to explain those charges? If yes, then you need a software that supports them. So all these good questions and more are being answered by profitability and cost management. And if you recognize any of these questions, then you need to ask yourselves, what are we using in order to answer them? And whatever system we're using, is it an accurate system? Unfortunately, more often than you would expect, I see big companies using Excel to answer these questions, which is not ideal. All right, so let's have a look now at a term that was coined by somebody in our company, which is figuring out what the goals are for your profitability and cost management insight. We came up with this term called FAST, and it stands for, it's an acronym, and it stands for flexibility, accuracy, shared methodology, and transparency. So let me explain in plain English what each of these actually want to represent. Flexibility. When you think of a system that needs to tell you how profitable you are, how much you're spending, how many resources you're spending, and when you draw the line at the end of the month, did I produce or did I just consume? You need a system to be flexible, to move as fast as your business. I had a client a couple of years ago. Still, whenever I think of them, I think, wow, that was just some really crazy environment. They were acquiring new businesses every month, a new ERP every month. That was just absolutely insane, because integration wise, it was a lot of work. a lot of detail, but also just figuring out, okay, I've acquired this new business. Is it as profitable as it should be or as it needs to be? Can I do something to make it a little bit better? Can we optimize something? We needed a system that was as flexible as my business or as our business was changing. So you need to be able to accommodate for org structures, methodology changes, data set changes, source system changes, anything that you can think of. Your system needs to be flexible. You want to be able to have a system that can do different mix of services versus cost. So once you set it up, it shouldn't be set in stone. It also needs to be able to move with the movement of your business, not just from an operational perspective, but also from, let's say, a maturity standpoint. And then capability for what if scenarios. What if I stop producing this product? What if I stock up on this product a little bit more? You need to be able to have a system that quickly changes, quickly adapts, but also can quickly spin off what if capabilities so that you can make better business decisions. Accuracy. You want to report numbers that are accurate because you want to instill that confidence. The last thing you want is to report the wrong number and for that to come out, because you just signed up to endless hours of work proving your numbers even when the system works perfectly. So you want to be able to trust the numbers. You want to be able to trust the system. All right. Accuracy through meaningful data. Just giving you the right number isn't the whole story, but also giving you the background. How did I get to that number? Did I change something in a meaningful way so that it impacts us positively? And can I prove to you that what I used to enhance or to make that change actually makes sense for my business? So accuracy is also something that really matters whenever you report on profitability and cost management. Shared methodology. Define consistent methodologies across all your management cycles. Again, plain English, what does that mean? Well, it means that when you perform your analysis, whether you're profitable or not, you want to apply the same methodology for your actual data set as you do for your budget forecast. Yeah.
Alex, you're breaking up a little.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're breaking up a little.
There's, all right, let me see if there's anything that I can do. Can you hear me now?
Can you speak now?
Yep, can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. I hope it's not from my internet, but I just needed to check.
All right, well, thank you for letting me know. Just let me know if it's still an issue. All right. Okay, so I was on the roll.
It's my internet. I have here.
Okay, all right. So I was on the roll there. I was going on shared methodology, right? So where was I? I was trying to explain that if you want to apply a methodology for your actual data set, you want to apply the same methodology for your forecast and budget, because when you do your variance analysis between these different data sets or management cycles, you want to make sure that you're comparing apples for apples. You don't want to have a report and not understand, okay, this is a 5 and this is a 10. Is 5 better than 10 because I applied a different methodology or not? So you want to have that consistency and you want to ensure it and enforce it. And like I said, you want to be able to have those consistent comparisons, that variance analysis between your business cycles. Last but not least, transparency. Giving the units the detail that they incur for their services that they consume. Again, in plain English, if I am a manager of a department and I consume IT services internally within my organization, I consume HR, facilities, finance services, I want to know how much am I paying for them. And it's unbelievable how every time we implement the solution in any company and we give that transparency to the line of business managers or to the department heads, it's unbelievable how much accountability we see, how much they actually wanted to know. They really wanted to know and to have that transparency, because that gives them power, that gives them strength to make decisions, and that gives them the opportunity to become more efficient internally and to decide, is this service really worth the cost that I'm paying, or should I look into doing things differently? Transparency, besides giving you that power as a department head, it also allows you to compare your effectiveness with services of external providers. So again, plain English, I love plain English. Let's switch to that. If I know that internally I'm charging for providing a service, and I always go to IT because I'm IT, right? If I charge double the amount to provide an IT service internally compared to what the market is charging for the same service, then I need to reevaluate how I am providing that service internally. I need to reevaluate, is this a skill gap? Is this a skill issue? Is this a software issue? Is this a platform issue? Maybe I don't have the right, the right server settings. Maybe I don't have the right technology. So these are all questions that if you have transparency and if you have that accuracy within your data set, these are all questions that you can easily answer. And again, it's unbelievable the transformation that you would see internally within your companies once you get all these really cool attributes from within your system. So I'm sure you're thinking, this sounds amazing. This is like the best thing since sliced bread. But how about showing me something that's in action? Because mad skills when it comes to PowerPoint presentations, but let's just actually see what the system does. So I'm going to exit the presentation briefly, and I'm going to log into a cloud subscription that I have already here. Just give me 1 second to refresh to make sure that my connection didn't die out while we were on this presentation. So, yep, go ahead, Jabir.
While you're doing the logging, can I ask something regarding the licensing?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So you said you have the two options, the standard and the enterprise, and it's better from let's say on the long run to go with the enterprise because it offers more let's say functionality and capabilities, business capabilities. But I thought the cloud. The cloud itself is flexible and it offers this possibility. If you choose for the standard, it's let's say you have to wait to go to the enterprise 1 year or something like this.
Oh, not a year, or it does take a couple of weeks at least. I think it was the timeline was about between 2 to 6 weeks or something like that. You have to change it. You have to change a contract.
The contract and the environment. So, do you need to change the environment too?
No, they can keep the same environment and expand it.
Okay.
But the contract needs to be changed, and that you need to go through the 7 layers of angels to get to God. So that's about how that process needs to go through. That the whole contract needs to be revised and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
It takes a little bit of time. All right. Thank you for that question. It's really, really good question. All right. So everyone, this is what the cloud looks like. If you see me just turning, that's because I have an extra screen here. So this is what the cloud interface looks like. If you're not familiar with enterprise management, this is what it looks like for all of the services that I mentioned earlier, whether it's planning, financial close, account reconciliation, strategic planning, anything you can think of, they all look the same, which is great because it gives you that kind of continuity. And it gives users a little bit of feeling that, I'm in the same product, I'm in the same world, and it works in the same way. So this is the look and feel of Enterprise Performance Management Cloud, and specifically for profitability and cost management. There's some tiles here that allow you to go like a quick menu to just click on them and go to a specific area of our model. But before we even go into this, I would like to take a little bit of time and present you with the data model. What does that mean? That actually describes the application that we're looking at. And this is going to be quick. I promise it won't be painful. So we're just going to look at what dimensions we have. And when I say dimensions, this describes what you would have as an analysis point. So for example, a dimension is considered year, scenario, version, period. Those are all considered dimensions in the EPM world. So this is a list of everything that we have in this particular application. This is a demo application, which anyone who has a subscription to Enterprise Performance Management Profitability can spin off. It's literally click of a button and it loads up for you, and you can just have a look around and you can see how it works for you and if it makes sense. So this application here, it's actually a manufacturing company that creates bikes. So bike manufacturing company, if we're to look a little bit of the chart of accounts, because I always start with the chart of accounts, that's an indication of how exactly our business operates. You see here we have net income, income from operations, operating expenses, and we have personnel, facilities, and some let's just call them bucket accounts where we want to store specific elements of our allocations. But this is what the account dimension looks like, and it's very, very similar, very simplistic, and very similar to what you see in general and throughout your management reporting systems. The account dimension that you see here, it has 72 members. Generally, we have hundreds of them, but keep in mind this is a demo application, so obviously it's not as big as it could be in real life. I'm going to skip a couple of these dimensions because we don't have that much time. But let's look at, let's say, entity. Entity is, again, one of those key elements whenever we look at a data model, because we try to understand the business itself. So if I start with anything, is account and entity. Entity here describes how does my business operate. So we see here that we have corporate, facilities, sales, and in manufacturing, I have machining, assembly, finishing line, and quality assurance. All right, so very simple model. Again, manufacturing should be pretty straightforward. What else can I show you? I can show you the products because they're exciting, right? Bikes. So here we have a couple of bikes and accessories, and they have different types of bikes that they're producing and the different accessories that they can sell on the site. Again, normally we see thousands of products, thousands of customers, thousands of these elements within each dimension, but it's a demo application, so it's tiny. All right, so this is our business model or data model, sorry, and bikes manufacturing application. Let's talk a little bit about those attributes that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Remember, flexibility, accuracy, shared methodology, transparency. And the flexibility one, I was saying earlier that you want to be able to change your model as your business changes, and you don't want to spend a ton of time trying to adapt. No. So for example, let's just say I'm producing a brand new product, or I want to add a new department to my structure, or I want to add some new accounts because my accounting department realized that they need to break out the account structure a little bit more. What does that mean? How does that impact what it is that I'm trying to achieve here, what I'm trying to calculate? Flexibility is key in this area. So let me show you a little bit. And I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the menu. So just focus on some of the points that I'm going to show you. In the model itself, in the model area, is where the core of the application exists, where all our calculations exist. Again, keep in mind these EPM software systems, they're with the end user in mind. So if you see this being very much point and click and very much interface oriented, it's because the business people are supposed to be using these systems, not IT. IT is there at the beginning to set this up, but then after that, business should be able to manage the system. So we looked at the data model. Let's look at the model itself. What is it that we're calculating? So I'm in November 2020. And here I have displayed all my calculations, all the processing that's happening inside the guts of my application. The order in which these calculations are displayed represent the sequencing in which something happens. So we start with occupancy expense allocation. That's where is it that you are? Your rent, basically, right? So that's your utilities and rent. How much do I have to pay for rent each month for a specific space? Then you're looking at manufacturing cost of goods sold, expenses. Then we have a little bit of activity costing. There's a little bit of activity-based costing that's in this model. Then we have support activities. Remember our shared services models? This is it. We have executive office charging out, but facilities charging, finance, HR, IT, and they all charge each other because they all provide services to one another. So all these represent the guts of my application. What does this application do? And if you're thinking to yourselves, well, wait a minute, this is supposed to be business user driven. So how does a business person know what is happening here? Well, I'm going to show you. So for example, I'm going to choose IT, again, my favorite department. And we're going to click on this one the action or script that is in the application. And this is going to show me the following things. It shows me a description. It shows me who created it and who modified it last. If I want to really look at everything that's happening in here, I can click on the pencil and then all of a sudden this new screen opens up and I'm able to see this particular rule performs IT operating expenses that are charged to all consuming cost centers, including to itself. So IT charges itself because it also has to pay for licensing and desktops and things like that. All right, so as a business person, I understand now what this is doing. Well, I want to look into more detail. So I want to see what's my source of the cost and what's the destination of my cost. So just here, you can open up and you can see you have your operating expenses in a specific activity in information technology that is going to a destination of 6 different departments plus facilities. That makes 7. So this is the rule itself. And again, let's go back to the attributes. I was saying flexibility. How flexible is the system if I add new accounts, if I add a new department underneath an existing department, or if I add a new activity, how flexible is it to incorporate those changes? How quick is it to make those changes? Well, because these calculations in the background are pointed to upper level members, to nodes within your hierarchy, if you add anything under the nodes, they will automatically flow into this role. So you need to do nothing as long as your rules are pointing to upper level members. All right, that's pretty flexible, right? Okay, but let's think about something else. What about flexibility methodology? What if I want to change an allocation methodology from, I don't know, allocating based on one driver and I want to allocate based on a different driver. So I'll give you the example of this IT department. The IT department allocates out to the different departments based on what they call hosted application users. So I'm charging finance for all their software, depending on how many application users they have, because I have to give support to all those users, right? So that takes a lot of time. But let's say that today we figured out that that's not the best way to allocate cost. We realized that actually, you know what? We need to figure out how many desktops they're using because I need to install software and manage it and update it on each of those desktops. So how easy it is for me to change the allocation methodology. As you can see, point and click. I want to search for that specific driver. And I want to say instead of hosted application users, desktop, laptop users. Done, okay, save, the end. So that's how quickly you can change your allocation methodology as a business user, as long as you have the metric in the system, as long as you have that data available to you, is as simple as a point and click. So when it comes to flexibility, that's pretty good from a business perspective. Also on the flexibility slide, I think I had the third point was what if scenario. Okay, so I have my actual data set and I calculated it and I'm happy as an end user because I can manipulate it any way I want. And it's flexible enough because I add an org structure, it comes, it automatically is included here. I add an account automatically included here. But how about if I want to do what if analysis? What if I want to change or give up producing a specific product? How would that impact my business results? Well, let's have a look here within profitability and cost management. There's a concept of point of view, and I'm going to try and explain that concept of point of view in as few words as I can. Point of view identifies a specific moment in time for your business reality, right? So, for example, right now, November 2020, actual data set. Each point of view can store its own business logic. And this is something quite unique. This is something you don't see in many enterprise performance management software out there. Logic as it adapts to whatever it is you need it to do. So if I am going to store a specific allocation methodology in January, I can have it switch if I needed to switch in February, and I can have it switch in March so that it adapts to what it is that I want. Obviously, when you will go comparing your data sets to what you had before, that difference will come up. That switch between your methodology will come up, but it's flexible enough to accommodate that. So let's go back to what if analysis. How easy it is for me to say, you know what, I would like to copy this entire data set and all the rules that I have, and I want to spin off a what if scenario. Well, like I said, the idea of enterprise performance management systems is that you get your business users manipulating this software and being able to own their own changes. So here, as a business user, I would easily say something like, I want to spin off from November 2020 onto November 2020 on a scenario called what if 2. What do I want to spin off? I want to copy all my rule sets and rule. I want to copy all that allocation logic, but I would also like to see that data set so I don't have to worry about data. And then if I need to change it, I can do so at my convenience, but at least I have a good starting point. So it's as easy as this. Click of a button. If that point of view doesn't even exist, it gets automatically generated for you and you're good to go. Again, as an end user, I launched something. It went into a black hole. I don't know where it went. Where you have your job library here available to you, which monitors whether a specific action was successful or not. If you do have any warnings, and let me see if I have some, I don't. Generally, they appear here with a hyperlink, and a pop-up shows up with log indicating what exactly went wrong, if anything went wrong. So this is how easy I can spin off a what-if scenario. And as a business user, I couldn't be happier because now it means I'm fully independent. I don't need to ask anyone from IT, copy that data, see that information, do this for me. No, I'm independent. I can do this on my own. All right, so that was flexibility. Let's look at what did I have next? I had accuracy, I think. That was flexibility, accuracy. All right. When we talk about accuracy, like I mentioned before, you really do not want to report on some numbers and then have to prove them, right? So you want to make sure that whatever numbers you're reporting, they're the right ones. I'm going to show you something that's out of the box, which means I do not need to set this up. It's just, it comes with the software. It's a feature that's really, really cool. So each number that we generate in the system gets a unique ID. How does that happen? All of those rules that I showed you earlier, all those scripts that I showed you earlier that actually define how you process your data, get a rule ID. And that means that any number that I will ever generate within my application, I will easily be able to trace where it came from because of a unique rule ID. The rule ID gets assigned automatically by the system. You cannot change it manually. You cannot adapt it or update it or delete it or replace it. It's set in stone. So each rule on its own, like for example, our IT support has rule ID number 9. So any number attached to that rule ID number 9 is now able to be traced all the way back to what was the script that generated this number. That helps you answer the questions as to why did you get this number? How did you get to that number? What were the mechanisms? Why is it different than last month? Well, it's easy for you to figure that out because you have this full traceability through your rule ID. This is one of the out of the box, like I said, reports. You see here it shows you what was my starting point called an input. What did I allocate in to an intersection? What did I allocate out of an intersection? What was my change? And what do I have as a remainder? So this at the top right here is called a balance dimension. And just like, when you balance your accounts, you balance your checks, you have money coming in, money going out. How much do I have left? Something of that, like from a high level, that's what this balance dimension does in the system as well. So accuracy here is proven by the fact that you have the unique IDs, you have the balancing dimension that is helping you out, and also each individual number that has a hyperlink here, as you can see there's some that are with a hyperlink, they're available via what is called Smart View add-in. So what is Smart View? going to click on one of these numbers. Let me see, IT, for example. Okay, I'm going to click on IT. SmartView is basically an add-in to your Excel where it enables you to click on a specific number. Let me actually open up Excel to show this to you. I didn't plan on showing this to you, but it's actually pretty cool, so I hope you like it. So basically, you download a link, and when you launch it, it basically opens up a report with that intersection, with that number in Excel. It's dynamically connected to your database, and it's able to show you how you got to that number and show you all of the details behind that number. So give me a second to log in here, right? And I'm going to bring you my screen so that you can see what it is that I'm doing. All right, so there you go. So I logged in to my system, and there it is. The number I clicked on, 1,285,000. I have it right here, and it shows me this is a number generated by rule number 9. What does this do for me? How is this helpful? You may think to yourself, if you haven't seen SmartView before, you may be thinking, why is this even, what does this gain for me? Well, you have all the other dimensions here at the top. And if you're really truly interested in seeing that the detail of that number, you can bring those dimensions within your Excel spreadsheet. Why would Excel be even, Excel is the tool of choice for finance. So why would you're thinking, why would I even want to have this in Excel? Well, because you can do your pivots, you can do analysis, you can put comments in here. It really acts a little bit like your Excel spreadsheet, but it's dynamically connected to the cloud application. So here, I'm just going to pivot this, and I'm going to say, I would like to see next level of detail, all the entities, and I don't want to have an explosion, but it's basically showing me what made up that number of 1,285,000. Well, I got a little bit of cost from sales, I got a little bit of cost from shipping, and I got a little bit of cost from customer service and administration. So it shows you the math behind that number. And it allows you to see in detail, how did you get there? And to prove that accuracy of that number. All right, so enough with the SmartView, enough with the Excel. Let's go to the next point, because I know I'm running out of time. Shared methodology. This is more along the lines of what we did before. When we copied the scenario to the what if scenario, you can do the same thing for your budget, forecast, plan, whatever other scenario you have from seeding it from your actual. And making sure that you have reporting results across all your scenarios for the like-for-like comparison. And last but not least, and I'm going to this one faster a little bit because it's a little bit more interesting than everything else. Transparency. Okay, so this is the term. I'm not going to take credit for it. Following the bouncing ball. That's actually one of my clients that came up with that, and I thought it was really good. So they were saying we now are able to follow the bouncing ball between all of the departments and throughout all the systems within our business. All right, so let me show you how this works. Transparency. Besides having this report, which is great, right? It gives you all the details. You also have a transparency capability here in the intelligence features. There's a lot more to the software that I'm showing today, but I'm just going to focus on the one that a lot of people love, and they love it for a reason. So when it comes to transparency, I want to be able to trace a cost from where I got to, from my source all the way to my target. And I'm going to show you here on specifically, actually I'm going to look at entity, and let's see, I want to trace IT support. Again, IT, my favorite topic. So let's go back to entity again. I want to see, what did I do with my costs from IT? Where did I allocate it to? All right, so I want to see a report that shows me that I had this 1,285,000, the number we were just looking at, and I want to see what happened to that number. Where did it go? You see rule number 9 again, confirming the fact that we have that rule ID that's unique. Where did it go? An explosion here to your right-hand side to all the different departments that received a little bit of this cost. If I want to make it a little bit more visually, easy to see, I to a different format of this display or different layout. And you can see here that 1,285,000 It landed on all these different departments, and it actually shows you how much landed on each and what was the contribution percentage. Basically, how much did I get? And if there's anything else that I want to see here, let me see. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, and we have this story. And this is that transparency that everyone in the business is saying, we don't get this from our current systems. They're generally black boxes. I actually don't know how I got to that number. And digging for the number takes me days, and lots of other people that need to dive into scripts and figure out what the scripts were doing. So this helps you as an analyst or a business user figure out what it is that happened to the cost on the way out. Okay, well, this is nice, but how about cost on the way in? So all I need to do is untick the, and I can launch exactly the same report, but this time it's going to show me how did I get to 1,285,000. So I'm going to open it up here, and it's showing me there are 4 rules that contributed to this number. And I want to pivot again. It's my preference that I like to see it displayed this way. And each of these is basically showing me that, for example, I had an allocation of, let's see here, the different departments. Again, so it shows me at the department level how much I got from everyone else. So IT received the cost from activity costing assignments, from executive office, from facilities, and from HR. So as an IT department, I have to pay someone as well that I received the cost from somebody else because I use their services as well. All right, so this is just a snippet of traceability. There's also one other thing that I would really like to show you guys before we go to Q&A. Because I emphasize so much out of the box, things that are just in the system, I didn't have to set them up, they come with the system. This is, again, something that I'm really, really passionate about, not doing documentation. So this is something that I love. We get here some system reports that help me not do documentation. Let me show you how that works. You know how when you update a methodology, scripts, when you update anything in the system, you need to make sure you're tracking those updates. You need to make sure that your documentation is up to date, so that whenever somebody references that documentation, which is funny enough, we were just talking about that, right, with Adriana earlier on, you need to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. And it takes a lot of time to have that up-to-date information. So this is why I love this out-of-the-box report. Program documentation, which can be in PDF. Sometimes I launch in Excel because it shows me the entire list of all my rules within the application. And it documents them for me right now, live. It tells me when this report was generated, the date, and it tells me the platform. It shows me all of the rules, who created them, when they were modified, what are the descriptions, and it gets even better. If I click on each individual rule, it tells me literally the intersection that's referenced by that rule. I had to do nothing. And I love that because this is one of the most painful points in any system, anywhere. Documenting all the changes that can happen from month to month. So remember how I was telling you it's easy to spin off what if analysis? Well, how do you keep track of all those changes that you want to make? This is how you keep track of them, because each individual intersection, each point of view, like I mentioned, so actual 2020 November has its own report. That means that you can download different intersections. And if you have them, like I said, in Excel, which you are able to do, you can then easily compare what changed between one month and the next. I would advise that if you do end up using the software and you do have your business users performing changes, I generally advise, as best practice, just go in and add to the descriptions any changes you have made. So I generally put in my name and the date, and I say, this is what the change was. But that's something that I know not a lot of people do. So instead of relying on somebody marking that they made an update to the system, you have this report now. And then, like I said, it's live, it's updated dynamically, doesn't get any better than this. All right, so there are a couple of other reports. Point of view statistics, execution statistics. This is more for whoever's on the IT side here in the audience. Execution statistics is actually really, really cool because what it does, it actually tells you how long did each step in my calculation take? So if you're looking to optimizing your processes, you know how you have to look into your logs and see, this query took this amount of time and it generated this amount of cells. Again, this is a dynamic report. It tells me for each launching of my model, how long it took, how many cells were updated, how many seconds it took to generate, how many seconds it took to create a data set in the background. So all this is pretty neat because it gives me a good analysis, like an X-ray of my system. And I'm able to pinpoint if something took like 23 seconds, maybe I need to look into that one particular rule and see if there's anything I can do to optimize. So that's how I use this report. And also I generally use it to figure out how many cells of data do we actually generate. That's mostly important to when you have to figure out, you have to estimate how long will it take me to load the target system, or how many records of data to actually generate each month for a specific scenario. All right, so I am going to rush through the next slides. I love doing demos, and the problem is that's the problem. It takes a long time to do nice demos. So let's do this. I'm going to skip through the slide because I don't think it's as important as everything else. Other resources, if you are interested in what you've just seen today, there are a lot of resources out there. I have a series of blogs that talk more and give you screenshots about this software. I also did a webinar with Oracle earlier this year. Last night when I was thinking about this, it took me a while to figure out it was this year because this year has been so crazy. I actually forgot I did this webinar earlier this year. It felt like last year. So there's a webinar where I show you real life use cases, real life client implementations, and how we got the most out of the software so that you guys can figure out whether it's something that you will be interested in or not. And then last but not least, I know I didn't do this at the beginning, so I'm just going to just squeeze this right in. I'm part of a company called Alithia. It's a Canadian company, but it has roots everywhere. It's in the United States and in France as well. I've been with them for, I think, 9 years. Yeah, about 9 years. We have 2,400 employees, 7 Oracle ACEs, which I think is fantastic for how many Oracle support or Oracle representatives we have in the company. I think that's a big number. A lot of projects, thousands of clients, and experience in all different kinds of applications, not just what you've seen today. So if you're interested in getting in contact, this is where you can find us. These are my contact details. We also have a YouTube channel with lots of materials that if you would be interested in seeing them. And you can connect with us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. And when we open to questions, I'd like to invite you to join us on Cloud Customer Connect. I do like to advertise Cloud Customer Connect because I think it's one of the very few environments where it doesn't matter what color of company you are, basically, whether you're a consultant or a client, everyone collaborates there, and it's a really nice space. So join that community and interact with the rest of your peers. All right, I'm done here.
Thank you, Alex. Let's see if everyone, if there is someone who has some questions. Raise the question. Okay. The presentation is both presentations are recorded, and I will provide later with the link. At some point, I realized that the spot on was left on Adriana. So sorry for this. At some point, I changed it to Alex, but I think because you were let's say speaker and the slides were on, just I think I'm not sure how it is recorded. Yeah, sorry for this. It was my I switched a little bit how the panels and yeah, sorry, my bad. I see we don't have any questions from our audience, but I have some questions. Yeah.
I also have a question. It's not clear to me. Maybe I've missed something. Could you please tell me, can this be used individually, or does it require other applications or other?
It can be used individually. It can be standalone. Yes. So it is part of the EPM platform, but you're not forced to use it. Unfortunately, because of how the licensing is, let me see where the licensing is. It's only part of this bundle. So nobody will force you to use anything else outside of it. It can sit on its own, but you would be paying an awfully high price to just use this one service.
I understand. Yeah. Okay.
So
thanks.
Thank you.
So my first question is regarding the integration.
Yes.
Because it's a cloud, let's say, product, and usually you need to populate with data from ERPs, different other ERPs, supply chain management, and so on. If you can present some information regarding integration.
Yeah, that's a good question. I never get this question. It's a good question. So we have, as part of your cloud licensing here, within this tool itself, it comes with something called data management.
Okay.
And oh, sorry, let me close this window here. Misleading. So data management in itself is, I don't know if you've ever heard of financial data management. This is the cloud version of it. So basically here you have an interface where you can set up your source systems and your target applications, whether you're using this software as a target from, let's say, ERPs, or as a source for other software systems. So here, when you look at source systems, if you want to add a brand new source system, you get the opportunity to say whether it's a file type, HCM, ERP, or NetSuite. Those are the 4 types that we have available today for profitability and cost management.
Okay. This is good. Okay. And
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, it's okay. And regarding, our community is not that much related to business users, more related to development. Regarding the configuration of the cloud, I see those rules that you presented. I see a designer, model designer, execution control. So I believe those are the tools to particularize, to configure, to customize the model.
Correct. Yes. So here you start with your structures first. So you go to dimension management. We like to load them through files from source systems that manage your master data, whether those are tables or if there's a data relationship management or master data management somewhere system. So you can either load your dimensions manually or through files. But yes, that's correct. In the designer, this is where you create your rules and rule sets. So you have a plus sign here, and you can say, hey, I want to add something new. And then you decide, does it go at the top, at the bottom? This is where you define the steps of your allocation.
Cool. The third question is related to roles and authorization in the application. So now you are logged as a developer or as a business user?
I am logged as an administrator.
Okay.
So there are four types of roles, and I have them displayed here on the screen. You are either a service administrator, which means you can actually wipe out the application. You do not give that access to your business users. They are any of the other 3. They are a power user, a user, or a viewer. The power user can do everything that I just did besides deleting the application.
Okay.
So that's the only difference between us two. But they can, as a power user, you can create your rules. Like I said, you can spin off your data. So anything you've seen today is applicable.
Cool. Nice. Because you said about deletion and version, I want to ask if there is anything related to versioning.
Versioning of the
history.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of audit capability here, but I'm going to be really brief. I don't know if this is different from any other cloud software that Oracle has out there, but basically you have an overnight backup that's taken automatically by Oracle. And that automatic backup, you can decide to do something with it. You can decide to store it offline, store it online, whatever you want to store it. But there's also these reports, and these reports, they can give you artifact updates, whether that's your structure, your rules, or anything like that. So you can say, I would like to see what changed between this date and this date in the entire application, in my reports, and data management, source and target systems and things like that. So I'm going to run that report, and it's going to show me everything that I've changed in the past 24 hours. It's going to show me who changed it and what was the artifact that changed. It doesn't go to the level of detail to tell you which artifact. So if you change your master data, like you change account A to account B, it's not going to tell you that was the change. It's going to tell you something changed in the account dimension. So when it comes to master data, that's the only caveat. But yes, you have your auditing and tracking. And
Cool. So that's all